You are all prepared for a wonderful day of learning, of a little bit of fun. I am Liz Lembke, and I am so pleased to greet you to day 2, where it's about where is learning going, staying current as an L&D practitioner. And I will let my other co-hosts, starting with John, introduce themselves.
Yes, well, good morning, everyone. My name is John Wills. I'm going to be co-hosting the day with my good friends Liz and Brandon. We have a very exciting and interesting day planned for you. I'd like to sort of invite you to think about the day as a kind of raising the curtain or pulling the curtain aside and taking a glimpse into the future, and sort of allowing ourselves to experience and think about and be challenged by what is coming for our profession and for learning and development generally. And then we want to kind of invite ourselves to consider, what does that mean for us? And how do we sort of begin to think about preparing for that future, knowing that we have the support of this wonderful community.
So well said. I love it, John. Awesome. Brandon, our fearless instigator of L&D Cares.
Good morning, everyone. Good day. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, John. I'm really excited about all 4 days, but definitely today. And Liz has used this term in the past, and quite often I hear her talk about co-creating. And it really sticks with me, like John is talking about for today, because it's really up to us. It's up to all of us to co-create together the future of our practice. And we know that, you know, last year, Satya Nadella said something about, it was in June at Microsoft's Build conference. He said, yeah, Microsoft had to go through about 2 years of digital transformation in 2 weeks, you know, and there's not one CEO in the world that would have thought we'd all be working distributed and remotely in February of last year, right? And then all of a sudden we were able to do it. And then L&D was really elevated on center stage to co-create, to keep businesses going, especially us at Delta, when 97% of our revenue disappeared almost overnight as the pandemic unleashed its forces across the world. Training was center stage to go keep business continuity going, since we were an essential service for the nation. And so it really heightened our visibility, but it also exposed a lot of our vulnerabilities as a practice. And so I'm really excited today to spend time with everyone here, because I often think of L&D Cares as a movement for us to really be that honeycomb that Liz and Elliot talk a lot about, and for us all together to co-create our future. And I think that we have, it's limitless, the opportunity we have. So I'm just really excited to share with everyone today. And I hope to experience, like yesterday, a lot of learning from the folks who are participating. So I'm really excited.
I love it. What a perfect introduction. And that's really funny. So yes, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Because, you know, here,
here you are. Okay, I did not know.
You got it, exactly.
I didn't know this was here, but thank you.
I think I need like a bada bing, bada bang to go with that one. I love it. Exactly. And I couldn't have said it better. You know, how do we, and that's the whole purpose of, you know, this Career Growth Summit, that we're going from, you know, just not talking about, my friend Mandy Choi likes to say, you know, stop talking about the drafts and invite the drafts into the room. So this aspect of, you know, here, where are we as learning and talent practitioners going? What are the things that we're looking at in terms of our professional organizations and vendors, looking at the learning research, the recruiting, and really saying, okay, what can we do as we continue to look at how our world has changed? It's really that aspect of, like you said, the learning of what stuck with us around those connections is this this aspect of where is learning going? And at times it feels a little bit like this, if any of you remember.
no audio on that, I think.
There's no audio. Okay. Okay, then I will ask a question. Does anybody remember this video where a teacher played with their students an April Fool's joke, where he basically put out a whole bunch of different words with hyphens and basically impossible to spell? Does anybody remember that?
I don't remember that.
Okay, well,
I saw that, Liz. That was very funny.
And we'll send you the link, but it's this piece around, what are the expectations? What do we believe that's going to be on the test or the exam of our profession? And like Brandon said, within 2 weeks, digital transformation happened to a lot of the organizations that we were in. And we as learning got a lot of respect. All of a sudden, it wasn't this aspect of training development. Those are, what are those costs? How can we push down the training budget? All of a sudden, it was, what can you do to help us out? And a huge sense of, okay, we really do need learning in our organization to really help and support our people in the organization. So there was a major shift that happened. And also a lot of us here within this room did a lot of rapid prototyping, a lot of rapid learning to be able to do that. So a lot of these things that have been on our roadmaps for 10 years around digital transformation all of a sudden got a little bit of a reprioritization. And oops, because this goes into that aspect of, one of the key principles for L&D Cares is that the future of work is social, adaptive, and very personal. So that aspect of scalability, or this is going to work for everybody, we understand that that's no longer how we can approach things. The aspect of social, of how do we foster connection, such as exactly like Brandon said, this group, but also very personal. What does it mean to me? Yesterday, we talked a lot about purpose, etc., and how does that reflect, and what are those contributions that you would like to make? Because we talk about, soft as the new hard, and uncertainty truly is the new black. Because there was a little piece that came out, I guess, Adam Grant, who very dear to Professor Dan Cable, who works together with John. He brought out this tweet, which was, quite brilliant, around how are we looking to things around being a learning culture. And we're coming oftentimes out of a defensive kind of, how are we defending our budgets? How are we speaking to those things? In terms of a performance culture of, will this be on the test? Will I get a bonus? Can I put this on my resume? To say, okay, in terms of learning culture, that curiosity driven. So how does this work? Will this teach me something new? I wonder what will happen if. So these experimentations to say, how can we foster that growth mindset in terms of the continuum towards more of a learning aspect. This is where, as we in our roles in L&D are changing and looking to say, okay, how can we get that broader fostering of experimenting and learning and smaller iterations and experiments in, and find that balance between the two. But we just, this morning as John and I were preparing for today, this was something that we were talking about as one of those challenges, or one of the imperatives for us. Because this is this aspect, and Brandon touched on it perfectly, is that our context has completely changed within a very short period of time. So this is, now it's all old news. This is from May to 2020 that McKinsey came out around what are the two imperatives of our time is, here on the one hand, we're safeguarding our lives. And on the other hand, we're looking at how are we safeguarding our livelihoods. And these two pressures on us is we have to kind of bring it back to being more humane to ourselves, is that we're not working remotely. We're not unemployed. We're not doing digital transformation as such. We're doing these things in the midst of a pandemic. with a lot of insecurities there. So that aspect of uncertainty is the new black has certainly been brought home this year and has continued with us. And so with that, I'm going to give it over then to John to talk about what that kind of means for us as we look into this day 2.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. And as Liz rightly mentioned, it's a time of change and transition for the world. And I think that's what we wanted to kind of get people thinking about as we examine the future of learning and development. This is obviously a conversation about L&D, but it's also more fundamentally a conversation about you as people in the profession or associated with the profession. Teachers, coaches, suppliers, recruiters, all of the various critical elements that make what we do possible. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to leave you with a couple of things. Change is by its very nature, and all of us have probably taught many courses on this, is a scary thing for a lot of people. However, in the context of what we're experiencing, it's one of those rare moments in time when the entire world is experiencing the same level of change. Arguably, they may be doing it in different ways, or their time frame might be slightly different. If you're fortunate enough to be from New Zealand, you may be experiencing this moment in a slightly different way than if you're from, let's say, where I'm from, which is London. So what we wanted to remind you of is we're going to explore the future and consider our own place in it and what we need to do to be prepared and skilled up and relevant in this new reality. Is that we wanted you to think about the JOHARI window, made famous by Donald Rumsfeld, although I would argue that there was a professor by the name of JOHARI who made it famous before Rumsfeld used it many years ago. We know what we know. We also know what we don't know. The risk is we don't know what we don't know, in which case, what do we do about that? We can't change that. So we really should just say, well, if it happens, it happens. It's not something we have any control over. But it's also those elements of what you know you don't know. So what we want you to do is we want you to focus on those two elements of the JOHARI window. What you know you don't know, and what you don't know that you know. And that's what we're going to talk about today and actually through the rest of the week. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to share that with you as a way of sort of grounding you in the moment.
Yeah. Very well said.
Fantastic.
Yeah, perfect. And that's really what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be walking through about those aspects of where is learning going and how do I speak competently around the needs versus the window dressing. And being able to talk what is the business impact of learning? How are we then leading it then into tomorrow? Before we then go into the talent fair where we're going to be looking at, what are some of those different learning paths? So we will be doing that all in the social lounge. We've invited a lot of different peers and colleagues to kind of talk about, what was our learning journey? What have we taken from those positions? And here just to really foster that social exchange around how are we taking each step as a different learning opportunity via the experiences that we go through. Anything to add there, Brandon or John?
No, I think you captured the spirit of the week, but definitely today really well. And I really like the maturity continuum, independence. This is a really great time for us to ask questions and to really explore and to discover new things together. So looking forward to the day.
Yeah, awesome. Well, then with that, we will remind you your little post-it of learning for yourself before we go into the icebreaker and break. As you think about today, as you think about what you want to learn, going back to the co-creation and the co-accountability, just taking that final minute for yourself to really think about what do you want to learn and what do you want to experience before we head out and go to an absolutely incredible day 2 of the L&D Cares Career Growth Summit.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Well, with that, thank you, everybody. And we will be seeing you all day long.
See you there.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.